In Myanmar, since the coup in February, the police and military have reportedly tortured at least 21 civilians to death. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, a Burmese human rights group, the bodies of at least 21 people killed while in the custody of the junta bore evidence of torture when returned to their families. These people, according to AAPP, included both anti-coup protesters and non-protesters. And according to Myanmar Now, a news website, the junta has operated secret courts that have sentenced many people to prison. So far in the crackdown, the junta's security forces have reportedly killed at least 860 people.
The body of Tayseed Ayasa, 33 years old, has now arrived in his village just outside of Jenin. He is one of two members of the Palestinian intelligence that were killed in a shootout with Israeli special forces overnight. The village has come out to mourn the body. Also members of the Palestinian forces, Fatah, the yellow flags are flags of Fatah, has been shooting in the air. And the body is now going to be taken to his family home, which is just further up here before it gets buried.
And in some good news, in what has been hailed an Aliyah Super Week by the Jewish Agency for Israel, 500 new immigrants from over 20 countries arrived in Israel in the span of just 7 days. And the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem, a name you may not be familiar with, but this organization has been assisting the Jewish Agency and Keren HaYesod bringing diaspora Jews to Israel by sponsoring over 600 Aliyah flights since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic. In just this week alone, the organization covered 148 flights. The ICEJ has brought over 760 Jewish immigrants to Israel since February 2020, saying that while many expected the coronavirus to halt Aliyah, Israel was surprisingly experiencing an increase in the desire of Jewish families worldwide to move to the country.
It is, according to the UN's aid chief, the worst food crisis anywhere in the world in a decade. Some 350,000 people are in famine conditions in Ethiopia's Tigray region. Mark Lowcock said that's higher than anywhere in the world at any moment since 250,000 Somalis lost their lives in 2011. The cause, according to United Nations agencies and aid groups, is man-made. The Tigray conflict between federal forces and the TPLF has killed thousands and forced 2 million people from their homes.
The wife of Mexican drug lord El Chapo on Thursday pleaded guilty in federal court for her role in helping her husband run the Sinaloa cartel of smugglers. Clad in a green jumpsuit and wearing a white face mask, Emma Coronel Aispuro appeared for a court hearing in Washington, D.C., where she pleaded guilty to 3 counts of conspiring to distribute illegal drugs, conspiring to launder money, and conspiring to assist the Sinaloa drug cartel. As part of her plea agreement, the 31-year-old former beauty queen also admitted to conspiring to helping her husband escape from a Mexican prison in 2015 when he dug a mile-long tunnel from his cell. In early 2019, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was convicted in a high-profile Brooklyn trial of masterminding a multi-billion-dollar drug enterprise.
France intervened in Mali in January 2013 at the request of the Malian president at the time, Diokounda Traoré. The goal? To drive out jihadists in the country's north and stop them from marching on the capital Bamako. Under what was then called Operation Serval, France carried out dozens of airstrikes on Islamist positions and deployed around 3,500 soldiers. Major cities were liberated within a few weeks. And French President François Hollande received a hero's welcome on his visit to Timbuktu. France's intervention in Mali was hailed as a success, but over 8 years later, Malian and French soldiers still face regular attacks from extremists. France is now set to draw down its 5,100 troops stationed across the region. Under Operation Barkhane, they've been fighting Islamist insurgents linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group.
SAA will be owned by a partnership between government and a strategic equity partner. Having evaluated the current environment, government has agreed to the SEP owning 51% of the shareholding and government 49% of the shareholding. The strategic equity partner is known as Takatso, which is a consortium, and the word Takatso in Sutu means aspire. And this consortium is 51% black-owned. It brings together two very resourceful entities, Harith, which is a funder, an infrastructure investor, and an airport owner, and Global Airways, which has sufficient and interesting experience in the airline industry.